What's going on, everybody? We are live. Today we're going to be talking about my current breeding projects, or the breeding products I just finished, and what is going to be available soon. But first, I got to go grab something to smoke. All right. Welcome in, everybody. It's federal holiday, so no mail going out today, but I still booked all the packages, still got things all put together and ready for tomorrow. And we also got in all of the packaging for the seeds. Seed packaging came in, so I'm really happy with how all that turned out. I'll show you guys that in a minute. You guys will dig this. Check this out. I've got all kinds of new stuff here. We got little oranges. All kinds of freebies coming with these new drops too. When I'll drop some in February, some still have to be tested. But some of the stuff that's going to be freebies and some of the drops are and this is crazy. So there was so many people commenting on the AI artwork. Oh, you should use real artists. I actually have an artist, and we both use AI. But dude, it actually took me so long to get it get it right. So anyway, Starfighter cross to Mac, and that was originally bred by Capulator. Those F1s were so good, man. I wanted to make sure that I had plenty more for in the future whenever I want to pop them. I also have a couple cuts that I keep around. And I use the male that I use in this for a lot of projects last season, last summer. And so these will be, with packs. Also, things that I'm testing currently right now are this right here. Here's the packs that came in. And then inside the packs, what you'll find is a 30 millimeter coin case. Looks like that. And then on the back of it, it's got the FulCrop Science. You can see the beans in there. So pretty cool cases. I thought that I would upgrade all the packaging. And then I have these like nice thick Mylars. But the Gay Laser, Sunset Sherbert, Rainbow Belts cross to Starfighter Mac. Testing these right now. And then I also have testing the Trainwreck Blueberry MK Ultra cross to Starfighter Mac, and this is called Blueberry Starliner. So those are all in testing. This Gay Laser should be, sweet and candy and gassy. I don't really normally do stuff like that, but I know it's popular. Might be fading out of popularity. Also, Mama Wolf Kush. So this is Yellow Wolf's mom's selection that I did with her. And the genetics are Chemdog, Black Lime Reserve, F2s. And so this is cool. So what's going to happen is we'll do this Mama Wolf Kush drop, and she's going to start, I'm going to get her like a tent and everything, like all automated and set up. So that way she can grow those out. You guys can follow her on Instagram. And then I have this one. This one I call Skunk Works, and this is the Blueberry Train Mac Skunk Cut, which is absolutely phenomenal. Cross to Starfighter and Mac. So those are the genetics for all the upcoming drops. I still have to test this one. And then I also crossed the herbal cut of Blueberry Train Mac into gas as well. And then I also have a Trainwreck Blueberry MK Ultra B back cross 1 crossed to Black D Chemdog Black Lime Reserve. And then I also have this right here, which these don't have any, haven't made any packaging for this, but this is Chemdog BX1, which is Chemdog crossed to Chemdog BLR Black Lime Reserve. And so those still have to get tested as well. Right now, what's in testing is the Gay Laser, the Blueberry Starliner. And you can see that on the Brandon Rust Grows YouTube channel. So pretty fun. And also, still giving out Bicket OG, which is the GMO Cherry Pie crossed to the Black D Chemdog Black Lime Reserve. Freebies with all FulCrop Sciences orders. I'm going to go through these and see if I missed any questions here. Yep, it's Martin Luther King Day, so federal holiday. No mail today, but I had to come down here, filled all the, there's tons of orders for me to fill, and I, got those filled. I'll continue filling tomorrow. Said your Bicket OG Candy BLR is sitting at your local post office. You have to wait until tomorrow when they open up. Is that a silicone? Yeah, it's made out of silicone. It's because we're down here at the office. If it was glass, it would break. Can't tell you the amount of times that's been kicked over and stuff like that. So Montreal in the house. Here's a question. Clownfish asked, when did I make the black light? The black light was made 2021, I believe. Here's a question. If you were going to use 8 plants breeding in a tent, would you prefer 4 16-inch pots with 2 plants in each, or 8 3-gallon pots with each plant had its own pot? I'd probably give them each their own pot. If you were doing, let's say, a 4x4, 5x5 tent, a 3-gallon pot with 9 plants, if those plants are 2.5 3 feet and you prune them, should fill in that whole canopy space. Might take a little bit, but I use AI for so much stuff, dude. The thing is too, we've trained our GPT like on all of our things, like business proposals, on different science. Like, it knows like how I want things done. And so, but the thing is, it won't include something if I don't like mention it. So like if I'm talking about the nitrogen cycle, right? If I don't mention all of the parts that I want to include, it'll leave a part out and it'll be incorrect, right? So it's like, you have to know what you want it to have. You need to know the information, and then it's basically good at just formatting things really well. It makes it, that's the best thing that it does, is it formats things for you, in my opinion. And then the art stuff, people hate on it, but I'm not a fucking artist, and Paul's got other things to do than spend 10 hours a day trying to do a single seed pack. What else? It's Cassie Ray asks, what else can one use besides aloe for rooting hormonal assistance? Or perhaps less is more. I mean, aloe's great. If you're looking for something that you don't have to like I like aloe because it's free, right? At least for me, I have a big ass aloe plant in my bedroom, and I can pull as much as I want off of that, and I don't need that much for my home grow. So that's a really simple option. If you don't have aloe at your house and you're looking for a really inexpensive, super easy to use option, Bonide. It's a little white bottle with a purple cap. They sell it at Home Depot for like $6 or like $5.49. And you can probably get like 4,000 to 5,000 clones off of that single bottle. So it's really efficient, and it's it's not natural. It's IBA. It's the synthetic version of indole 3 acetic acid. It's indole butyric acid, but it is inexpensive and it's efficient, cost efficient. But as far as natural rooting hormones, you could probably do coconut water as well. If you wanted to add a little bit to your media or whatever, your rooting media. Yeah, Gay Laser. I thought it was a good name. The thing is, like, I don't know. I was thinking about like how funny some of these movies are, like Ted, right? And you've got these guys smoking weed, and they've got these ridiculous names of weed strains, like same thing, pineapple on like Pineapple Express. There's different things, they're just really, and there's a bunch of different examples of movies like that. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna fucking do something ridiculous. And because it's got a bunch of, so it's got Sunset Sherb and Rainbow Belts, I was like, that's pretty gay. So I was like, Gay Laser, because we have the Starfighter and the Mac in there, so I was like, well, we kind of have this like space theme, but we also have like, rainbow belts. It's like, all right, Gay Laser. Big Kill says he's rolling up some blueberry train max. Sweet. Do I have any East Coast sour diesel? So as a smoker, I'm always welcome some sour D, but as a cultivator, I'm just not growing it. It's a fucking pain in the ass. It's it takes a super long time. Like sour D is like 84 days. Like if like the legitimate sour D cut that everybody was running back in the day was like 84 days fucking long. At least the one that we had. And no, I was just not a big fan of having to wait so long to harvest. And it can be finicky. So I prefer growing the Chem D. It's got a lot of the same type of components to it, except it's nice chunkier, more solid, dense flowers, and you can harvest it in 60 days. You can harvest it even earlier if you do it right. Would love to know the terps and smell for these. Yeah, me too. That's why I'm testing them out right now. So the Gay Laser and the Blueberry Starliner is in testing right now. They're only a week into flowering, so probably next 4 weeks or so, I'll have an idea of what their profiles are going to develop into, and then a couple weeks after that, it'll be really close to harvest time. So testing them right now, and then after those ones, I'm going to be testing the ChemDog BLR, or the ChemD BX1, which is ChemDog BLR. And I will also be testing out the new, it's called Berry Bad Dog. It is Blueberry Train Mac ChemDog BX1, which is that I haven't tested that yet. I actually haven't even shucked the seeds. I have the packaging, I have everything ready, but I haven't shucked the seeds, haven't tested it. I'm going to test it out. It's going to be good. I already know what to expect. I already grew out all of the F1s this season, and berry chlorine bleach. It's the terp profile. It's acrid, really acrid. I think you guys will like it. Yeah, the coin cases are legit, dude. So comment, it says, thanks for the idea to use coin cases to ship seeds. I don't know how I didn't think of it. Like, as a coin collector back in the day, I've rebranded and will be using them to ship mine as well. So this is what he's talking about. These are actually, let me see if I can find a blank one. So 30 millimeter coin case. And inside the coin case, they have these little foam pads that are circles so you can adjust the size. And then I have Never Stop Print Shop. He actually prints out the circles right here. And I like how I designed it. I was like, dude, I want a little viewing window so you can see the seeds inside. And I want to make sure that they're hollow. So that way on the backing of this, it's not just a white sticker, but it's like shiny and stuff. So it looks really, the whole aesthetic of this, I feel, is better representative of the quality of the genetics, as opposed to just the little seed vial and stuff. So I upgraded all the packaging. I got nice thick mylars and whole wraparound things, and maybe even in the future I'll get the little stickers so that they can't be counterfeited. Because the drops, whenever I do drops, I'm not doing a massive amount. Like here, a good example is this. This is the whole drop. This is all of the packs. And so there's essentially, 100 of this available. And that's like on the larger side. The Berry Bad Dog, different story. I did that outdoor this year. So tons of those seeds. And those will, these things are all be priced differently. The thing, like whenever I have less of something, the price is usually higher because it's like a rarity factor. It's like when you open up a pack of Magic the Gathering cards, right? And you get, whatever, 10 commons, and then you get usually, 3 uncommons, and then you get your rare, or it might be a mythic rare, or it might be a special art. It just depends. That's kind of how I look at it, is based off of the availability is how I price things. So usually it's between 50 to 100 packs on the different varieties that I make, because a lot of the stuff, like a good example, I don't have it here. Like I'll drop something, and even if I have more packs than that, I mostly do these projects because I want to be able to have in the future these varieties, so I have enough seed stock for me to always go back in there and find that thing that I like without having to actually keep things in tissue culture media or to keep them on. And so for me, the majority of the stuff the seed stock that I actually have, I keep myself. Yeah, aloe is really cool because it's such an easy plant to grow as a succulent. It doesn't need much attention. You can root clones with nothing. You could just have nice, healthy clones and, a good environment in something like a root plug or a rock wool or whatever. And, as long as those things are healthy and a good environment, then they usually root. They might take a little bit longer without like some hormonal assistance. But here's another question from the chat from Team 55MX28. What is the average depth that roots will extend downward in a living soil type substrate? So this is actually dependent on if you have a taproot or not. And so typically what you'll see is with clone stock, they don't really develop a strong taproot. Typically their roots are kind of going out everywhere. Seed stock, does have a tap root. So seed stock, you could get roots. Typically, if you look at the size of a plant, let's say you have a plant that's 3 feet deep, it might be, or let's say it's a meter tall, right? You might have a tap root that's 2 meters deep or 3 meters deep. It just depends on the substrate, the nutrition, how dense is the media, a couple of different things. But when we're talking about clones, which is typically what people are doing, especially in commercial settings, I don't typically see them go more than 12 inches deep. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped using really deep living soil beds, because when I started, I was doing 2-foot deep beds. And then I went down to 18 inches and I was looking, and what I was doing was I was basically after harvest, I was pulling back the side kind of to see like where the root mass really stopped. And so there was, this much soil that basically I was always trying to hydrate, trying to get nutrients to keep everything homogenized and perfect, like with the nutrient distribution in that. Man, I got cut off, man. I don't know where I was, but that shit sucks when that happens. My internet's spotty. But the difference between a 2-foot bed and a 1-foot bed is the amount of amendments and water that you need to completely hydrate to make, and make everything sufficient is double the volume of a 1-foot bed. So I was able to decrease my overhead when it comes to water inputs, nutrient inputs by 50% by decreasing the media volume. And so when we're talking about organic cultivation, a lot of times people are super set about, sourcing and this and that. What I'm looking at is like the logistical efficiencies, the energy that went into to create those products, how efficient are those products, where are the products, where do they come from? Those are all things that I really look at when we're talking about maximizing profitability, especially if you're working at scale. Now, that doesn't really matter so much when you're a home grower, but if you are trying to operate at scale, cutting costs anywhere you can is essential. Here's another question that says, do you have a pre-charged biochar? If so, why and how? Do you have to pre-charge biochar? Do you have to pre-charge? If so, why and how? I figured if I was mixing with a soil amendment, I just added in. Yeah, it's fine. So what they're talking about, activated biochar, they're really just adding microorganisms that can kind of work on that carbon substrate, because typically biochars will have obviously high levels of carbon, but they'll also have nutrients, and they're locked up in that kind of mineral matrix. And it's easy to solubilize that with, enzymes and organic acids. And so microbes will essentially start to work on that substrate. And it's not, I don't feel like it's super necessary. Like if you want to, you could add something like Microbe Plus, which is multifunctional soil probiotic, or like compost extract you could use, stuff like that. Just any type of like beneficial microorganism, like inoculant. It'll, it's going to help to, just cycle some of that nutrients and start getting that carbon cycle initiated. But if you're putting that into a biologically active system already, that has microbes that you're already doing things like Micro Plus on, or that you already inoculate, and do tea, or if you do like compost teas or vermicasting extracts or any type of stuff like that, you can just add that biochar in there because it's already in a bioactive system. So it's not like you need to add, you know, a microbial inoculant to biochar. You can. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to. I don't think it really makes a difference. Any current growers in here, the blueberry skunk cut is such a perfect 10th strain because once flipped, it has hardly any stretch. Free to veg as much as you want. Super stinky terps, stacked nodes. I'm glad that you have that cut, man. And here's the thing, it's not the easiest thing to grow because it does want to flower. It wants to flower fast. It wants to flower hard. And so optimal veg conditions, optimal light, and optimal nutrition, you have to manage that really good with that blueberry Train Max skunk cut, which I don't have a drop plan. You know, I did some drops earlier in the year. If you were fortunate enough to get your hands on it, you know how freaking awesome it is and how terpy and just like, you know, it's very acrid. It's a great one, man. I keep it around. It's one of the things in my libraries. I've done a couple of little projects with it. Yeah, and the thing is too, so I have the ChemD BX1 to go through. I have the blueberry, the Berry Bad Dog, which is ChemDog Blueberry Train Mac BX1. After that, though, I'm going to pop some Starfighter F3s that I have and then get back into some more of the Limarilla. But I also have the Gorilla Glue coming back, and what I will be doing is Limarilla V2. This will be way later on this year with ChemDog BLR crossed into GG4. That'll be a nice one, too. Marcus Green Thumb says the Starfighter Gas V2 is getting wet today. Popping some seeds. Cheers, everybody in the chat. Here we go. Got another question from Team 55. He says, I grow in soil. Is there data that larger volumes of soil create and allow for a better biome? It's not necessarily so, you know, because what I'll do is I'll take like a living soil mix. I'll reuse soil, and I'll do that in like 1 gallon pots. So like the difference for me reusing my beds and then me reusing, say, 1 gallon pots when I'm doing like hunts and stuff like that, right? So I'll take my 1 gallon pot and I will put it into a, you know, a HDX tote, and I'll break all that stuff up, add some little top dress amendments in there, mix it all up, and then just repot because it's not a huge volume of soil. Now on my beds, what I'll do is I'll just top dress re-amend. But both of them work and create, you know, great product. I mean, there's no lack and there's really no difference. And the beds, you know, have decaying organic matter from leaves that I remove, and the same thing to a lower extent with the smaller pots. Obviously, they're smaller plants. There's not as much biomass to remove. But I mean, you could even have like things like worms in small pots, right? They're usually going to self-regulate, you know, so there might not be a ton of worms in a 1 gallon pot, but I think that the amount of worms that you would have in a 1 gallon pot versus, let's say, a 4x4 bed would be about the same on average per cubic foot of soil or whatever. Because again, a lot of times they self-regulate, and as long as you're not overfeeding worms, because that happens too. I've done it before. I've turned my media into castings and made it so my media was really hard to use and balance, and like the media becomes really dense from earthworms. So it's like adding too many earthworms or like always trying to stimulate the earthworm growth I'm feeding the soil, right? And you're adding amendments all the time, and you're adding prebiotics like Bokashis and this and that and the other. That, one, you could over fertilize, but also like by always maintaining super high earthworm populations, I've seen beds turn into castings, and then those beds be really hard to manage. What temperature do I like to root my clones at? My heat mats are set at, this is from the Dank in the chat. My rooting mats that I set my clones on are set at 78 degrees. It's not blueberry. That's blueberry Train Max Skunk Cut does not have any blueberry. It does not have any fruit in it at all. It does contain some of like the blue velvety hues if you do it right. But that was an outlier. That specific phenotype was like didn't match up with the typical profile, terpene profile, or like that's typically in that line. That was an outlier, and kind of so was the herbal cut, which is the herbal cut is weird because it's like rosemary, thyme, and basil kind of wrapped up into one, but it's like a candied version of those herbs. It's really strange, and it's like it was a unique blend of what you do find in blueberry Train Mac, but it leaned more towards that really acrid, like herbal type notes. There's different, the thing is I have F4s that I haven't popped any of the blueberry Train Mac because I've done a ton of line work. So I have like the back crosses, the blueberry Train Mac MK Ultra back crosses. I have the blueberry Train Mac cross to gas, and the blueberry Train Mac was the blueberry Train Mac MK Ultra cross to Mac V2. So they're kind of different variants that are in that same realm. And then I also did 2 different F3s of the crinkle cut, which is the specific profile that I look for in the line. And then I did F3s with the skunk cut and the herbal cut because those are outliers in that line. So I've done a bunch of work within this line, a ton of it actually. Like I've spent the last since 2020 is when I actually started doing all of these projects. So I've done a ton of line work. I have F4s, haven't gone through those because I still want to go through more of the F3s because I did 2 different variants. So I want to really dial in which line expresses for all of the specific characteristics that I like in that line. And I found, one from the last F3 hunt that was all year last year, and I did like 5 different runs of it. I found the blueberry haze pheno, number 30 blueberry Train Mac F3. And that was the only one that I actually kept and selected after doing multiple runs. And, I know which line that came out of which F3 line that came out of, right? So I'm going to keep testing more of those F3 lines, but I'm also going to test the other ones because those the male that I used the same female, but I used a different male. And so what I want to see is how does that male express? And so I'm just going to grow more of those F3s out. I'll also go through the F4s that I made with that blueberry haze pheno as well, because again, I'm looking to dial in as I continue the project specific flavor, a specific look, a very specific terpene profile, and a specific high, right? And so the end goal is to get, we're at F6 or maybe it's F7, I don't know what it will be, to just make sure that whenever I'm popping that specific line, that it's homogeneous across all the seeds. So there's really no variance in phenotypic expression or the chemotypic expression, across that whole line. What do I know about those? Dude, I know that shit's always getting renamed, so it could be a California kiss if also. I have a tent and it's not for camping. Comment from Torino says, I enjoy the time you share. I need all this great info to keep my grow healthy. Yeah, no problem. Remember, you can all on the website right now, we are still doing the freebies, which is the GMO cherry pie cross to the ChemDog Black Lime Reserve with all orders that we're going to run that until those seeds are out. So we've ran through several hundred packs, but I'm going to keep them going because I had about 4,500 seeds. So I figure there's another 150 to 200 more packs left. I'm just going to run it until it's gone. So those are available with your orders. And also, if you're a new customer and you've never gotten anything from FulCrop Science before, you can use a code SAVE NOW, one word, to save 20% off your order. And even if you're not a new customer and you've ordered before, I refresh that coupon code so that way everybody can use it at least one time. It's a one-time use code. Here's another question from Don't Get Caught Farm. Is it better to water small living soil containers daily with small amounts of water, or let it dry back some until the top 1 or 2 inches is dry? So it's always, this is a pro tip, okay? It's always best to err on the side of dry. If you're uncertain about your water practice, it is better to err on the side of dry. Your plants will forgive you so much more for underwatering than they will for overwatering, because what happens is you can decrease the oxygen content and create anaerobic conditions, which will kill off all of those fine root hairs, which are absorbing nutrients in the soil. And those little fine hairs are what make up the majority of the surface area of the roots that are coming into contact with nutrients. And so when you destroy those, you destroy the plant's ability to uptake nutrients, and then you can grow pathogens, and then you can start killing off the roots. And it's just a really bad cycle. So, but the amount of water that you give is really dependent on the volume of media, right? So it's like my 1 gallon pots, I'm probably giving about 100 to 150 milliliters per 1 gallon pot about every other day. Or I could do something like 200 and go, every other day. It just depends on your environment, how fast they're feeding, what your VPD is. If you have a higher VPD, then your transpiration rate will usually increase, and you'll usually take up more water. So there's a lot of different factors to play in, but again, it's best to err on the side of dry if you're having trouble with watering. Do I have a gas mask? I do. I mean, I have things for mixing, when we're bagging up nutrients and stuff. Do I have farmer overalls? Trevor wears overalls all the time over here. Oh, this is rude. Do I smoke meth? Of course I do not. And you get put in time out now for being rude. Here's a good question. Galaxy Solutions LLCs won't uncharged biochar rob the soil of beneficials and microbes? No, not at all. So the thing that you're probably thinking of is carbon to nitrogen ratios, because what can happen is when you have too much carbon in the soil, what happens is you can start to immobilize nitrogen. And what happens is the carbon is a fuel source for microbes. Microbes also need that nitrogen to build DNA, to build proteins, RNA, right? And so they need access to that nitrogen. What they're doing is you'll start building up the populations of bacteria if you have a higher carbon ratio, right? And if what happens is they start feeding on that nitrogen, and they basically immobilize it from the soil by converting it into their body, right? They absorb it into their body and they use it for their metabolism. That will not be released until that cell dies, and it lyses, and its cellular compartments bleed back out into the environment. Now, what happens is if you have a lower carbon to nitrogen ratio, what you get is called net mineralization. And so what will happen is it'll slow down the uptake of nitrogen from microorganisms, and it'll start to release that nitrogen back into the environment. So carbon to nitrogen ratios are really important when it comes to nitrogen dynamics. But biochar isn't going to rob anything of the soil. So it can increase cation exchange capacity if it's like a really fine material, which can help hold nutrient ions more efficiently in that soil. So that way they're replenished into solution once the plant is taking them up from the substrate. And then when it comes to microbes, it's going to stimulate the microbes, because anytime you're adding in carbon substrates or any types like prebiotics, like wheat bread, like bokashi, right? The reason why you see those microbial blooms is because of the fuel source, fulvic acid. There's a bunch of different compounds that act as fuel sources. Any complex carbohydrates are fuel sources. So all different types of things that are carbon based that are going to fuel those microbial dynamics in soil. This guy is being. Go ahead and ban this user. There's some weird stuff going on in chat today. Here's another one. What is your take on using leaf mold compost in living soil media? So I have all types of trees on my property, and I compost all of my leaves in just my traditional compost. And I really only use it in my outdoor. And this is the reason why. So where I'm at, we have really high pathogen pressure. And so we get things like alternaria, we get leaf spot septoria, we get powdery mildew. There's all different types of pathogen pressure in my area. And things like alternaria, they can exist on those dead leaves, and they can withstand a lot of composting. And so I don't like to bring those in, but I do use them in my living soil beds for like my potatoes, my garlic, my onions, all of those things that I cultivate. I do use leaf mold compost. I don't know how to add people as moderators, to be completely honest. I'll have to ask some of the other YouTube guys. But I'm also operating from StreamYard, so I can see the YouTube comments in my StreamYard. There were some weird comments in here, but I blocked them. That's why there's a block button. You had a friend overdose on melatonin. Did they like sleep really hard and have weird dreams? Yes, this is a plant science discussion. Yeah, the 78 degrees is at the mat. So my actual plugs on my media, this is a callback to an earlier conversation about the temperature at which I root at. My mat, this is good to specify, my mat is set at 78 degrees. So my media is actually a couple of degrees cooler because one, I have the mat, then I have plastic, then I have the media on top. And then, so if I were to do a laser temp, I'd probably be sitting at like 76. It's going to be a couple of degrees cooler. Do I tissue culture? I have a tissue culture lab here, but as far as spending the time to turn it into a business, which is what I originally wanted to do, and I got everything to do that, it's like, I need a lab technician out here in Oklahoma that would be willing to do like a split where we could be like, hey, I have all the equipment. All you have to do is come in and work. We'll split whatever business we have 50-50 after, obviously materials and stuff like that are paid for. But I just didn't find anybody in that was local that, and the thing is, it's more than just working in the lab. It's like doing the promotions and all that other stuff and like taking in material. And I just, to do it myself with all the other stuff I have going on is a little too much. Yes, I am still waiting on the paper. Well, I'm not even waiting on the paperwork. Paperwork's finished. Look, we paid all of our licensing fees. We got approval from the OMMA. We had our inspections. We got our fire safety passed. We got our signage from the city passed. We're literally waiting on the Department of Narcotics just to review and give us like a fucking, okay, you guys can open your doors, which I don't know if they do it on purpose, but it stresses me out, dude, because I'm ready to put plants in there, dude. And like, we have like our own small batch, bro. Like, this isn't like, dude, it's a 20 lighter. That's it, right? We have 14 lights total for flowering in the whole place. It's all boutique style. Nothing leaves the building. It's all in-house for our own dispensary. Like, you can walk in the dispo, you can look at the plants through the window. You know what I mean? Like, it's a small spot, and it's a kind of like a dream come true to be able to have something that is manageable where you don't have to spend, dude, 20 lighter, bro. One person can run that, 4 hours a day, and then when you do things like transplant or harvest, you can, call up your homeboy. So, the overhead's really low. We're going to do the Battle of the Breeders there where we have one room, just a 4-light room, where we rotate different breeders' genetics through and do, exclusive special drops. In that Battle of the Breeders, dude, I was so fucking pumped, bro. And, we thought we were going to open back in July of last year. Right. And so I got pumped up. I started like getting everybody, started doing interviews with the breeders and stuff. And then I had to shut the whole thing down because it's like, we're still fucking waiting. But I'm not going to get discouraged. It sucks. But, once it's open, bro, and we're off and running, dude, we'll be able to do all kinds of cool stuff there, man. If I want to do a room and do a breeding project, or if I want to, just pop seeds. But the cool thing is that consistency is one of the things that we're going to have. Our menu, our flower menu is all going to be consistent. So we're going to have 6 varieties that we grow. We do that really, really well, and they're not going to rotate. So even though I'm not a huge fan of Blue Dream, we'll have probably Blue Dream. I'll do Chem Dog. I'll do a Blueberry Tramac Pheno. I'll probably do something like a Purple Kush. I'll do a Sour, and I'll do a Haze. Right. And those are going to be staples. And so we're not going to be always trying to switch things up. It's like you come in and then, so we're just waiting, man. It's a dream come true, but sometimes we just got to wait and we got to play by their rules, even though I hate it, coming from where I come from. But we'll get the new shop open up, and it'll be dope, dude. We'll have a hemp license over there. So we'll be able to do cuts, clones, and all that other stuff as well. And we'll see how everything works out, dude. It should be pretty on point. Also, 170 people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, freebies, GMO cherry pie, ChemDog Black Lime Reserve cross with all full crop orders. You can use code SAVE now, one-time use code. Oh yeah. I do what I can, man. I do what I can. I like to do this stuff, dude. I like these chats, man. It's fun because, dude, I see a lot of the same people in here, and there's people that have learned and go on to help other people. That's what it's all about, man. The thing is, like, I kind of do this selfishly though, because I purposely want to grow a bigger community, because like it's only when more and more and more and more people, and this thing just comes absolutely regular. Everybody knows somebody that's growing, like the zeitgeist, the whole zeitgeist of like what cannabis is changes the more people that are involved. So the more education that I can spread, the more people I can reach, dude, it's a benefit to myself included, man. Huge benefit, because I don't want to have to stop doing this, and I want to keep doing it for the rest of my life. And the more people that are involved in doing it, the more power that we have collectively as a community to fight back when it's time to all really come together. When they, if they try to ban home grow, right, or the federal government tries to come in, dude, like the bigger community they have, the more power we have collectively. And so that's one of the reasons why I do this too. Here's another question. It says, Andrew Spencer says, I'm a student in college, but have a lot of time on my hands. Would you like some help uh, moderating your chat when you go live? You know what? We could do that. And I think what I'll have to do is figure out how to moderate it, because I don't know how to give the people the little tool. I'm actually I've only been doing the YouTube like consistently for a couple of months now. So I'll figure that out. And there's a bunch of people in here that, we got Trent Scott a Garden in here. We got Zach Ficklin. I mean, there's just all kinds of people in here that are regulars. Here's another question from another chat regular. What would be a good soil mix to start with, like something from Walmart or Home Depot? Yeah, that's another good question. So I would just go with maybe like I'm trying to recall the last time I was in Walmart grabbing some like house plants or whatever, some like succulents. I was looking at the different soil types, and they had like just an organic peat base soil that was like maybe $12 for 2 cubic foot. Anything like that, any of those like organic peat based ones could be a good start. You might have to add in some aeration and some amendments to actually bring it up to par for what you're wanting to do, but it's a good idea for content. There's a lot of decent soils out there. Fox Farm, you could use that as a starting base. I don't know if that's fully organic, but there's like Roots Organic is a good base. We have our own soil, but we usually just do like larger orders, so we don't have like small bags that we sell to the public, because the shipping costs more than the actual product. Here's another one. Another question from Team 55. As an old head, I am seeking 1975 to 85-ish original genetics. Do you have any recommendations on seed banks? So I would recommend Authentic Genetics, Todd McCormick. He's a friend of mine. He is kind of he's an OG and kind of a legend in his own right. He has a lot of older stuff. He has stock from Greg McAllister, who originally got the seeds from Steve Murphy that became Northern Lights. He's got a lot of the old hazes. So Todd McCormick, Authentic Genetics would be my recommendation. I'll also, there's some other guys that work with some older stuff. Mr. Bob Hemphill, which I think is crickets and cicada seeds. He's another OG. He works with a lot of older stuff, some older hazes and stuff like that. And then I would say for some older stuff, probably Katsu is another. He used to have a cafe in Amsterdam back in the day, so he works with some older genetics. Most of my genetics are like middle school, so I use a lot of, my lane is the Blueberry Trainwreck, which that's a little earlier. That's like 2000. The GG4, Chem Dog, Mac. Those are like a lot of the staples that I use in a lot of my projects. What's the longest it's taken for a bean to pop for me? Dude, I've actually had this happen where I popped seeds directly into my bed, and I waited like weeks and nothing popped up, so I just assumed they didn't make it. And I grew out an entire harvest. I put clones in there, grew out an entire harvest. And after I had chopped and I watered my beds, those seeds started popping up. It was like months later. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Where can you order my seeds and stuff? And when I do clone drops is on the Bokashi Seed Vault website. But right now, there's really not much on there. Most of the stuff is sold out. You can check. The stuff that is on there is like 40 to 50% off. But I don't think there's much on there right now. There is some Royal Oranges, which is another one. You guys didn't see this. This is from Paul, who was doing all the breeding work for Create Genetics. He made it his own company. Royal Oranges, it's like Trop Orange. It's really nice. Trying to catch up on some of these. Umbrella Trellis says he ordered his humic complex, the complex humate. He loves the edge that it gives me, and I can't wait for it to get here. I think so today's a federal holiday, so no mail today. Tomorrow, the mailman's going to be like, fuck, because there's a lot of packages for him to pick up from the weekend and today. Where that gay laser at? It ain't listed. These aren't listed yet. I haven't listed these. They're not available. The thing is, these are in testing. So on my other channel, you can watch like the POV. I put little like what are they? The stop motion time lapse, the time lapse video of them growing and stuff like that. I've been doing all that kind of stuff, but nothing's available. None of these new drops are available yet. We're just getting ready. I got to list them, and then the gay laser, blueberry starliner, those will be first to drop. Obviously, there's freebies with those and stuff when I do, but it's going to be probably 4 or 5 more weeks at least. So I'm testing them I'll know by probably the 5th, 6th week of flower, how everything is looking, what I can expect, what the terpene profiles are developing, making sure there's no intersex characteristics, which the way I select my males, I rarely ever see it. Yeah, I got to do more seed shucking too, man. The discount code for first-time buyers is save now, one word, SAVENOW, 20% off. And again, I'm throwing in freebies, those GMO cherry pie cross to Black Lime Reserve ChemDog in all the full crop orders. Seed orders, I've been throwing in random stuff, so you never know what you get for freebies, but I've been doing freebies for orders too now. I really like doing this. I like talking about this stuff. Cool thing too about like I can read the same books over and over and and I do oftentimes do that, but there's oftentimes things that people want to know that helps me refresh my memory too. It's good to talk about stuff, man. It's good to like talk about, repeat yourself over and over the same type of topics. It's like doing jujitsu, man, or like wrestling. When I used to wrestle, there were like when you go to practice, you're doing the same, fundamental things over and over and over, because a good foundation is something that you build off of. And so you do like, oh, these are the types of drills that you do. These are the type, like, this is how you practice when you come to practice. And it's the same thing when I do these lives, right? I get to refresh my memory. And let's see. Rusty Nail said that blueberry is an Afghan artifact. Do you think it's the Hawaiian influence that gives it? I think it's actually Thai, because most of the Hawaiian, I think, came from like Mexico and probably Thailand, stuff like that. But if I'm not mistaken, the DJ Short used Afghan and Thai influences for his blueberry. And I think what we're talking about when we're talking about blueberry is the color of the hues that you typically get, where you get these kind of dark blues, these violets from like the anthocyanin production, along with these really sweet berry notes. I'm still behind on the comments, guys. Trying to catch up on questions. Rusty Nail says he prefers JJ from Top Dogs for his recreations. Yeah, he does a lot of work with the chems and sours and stuff. He's an OG. He's one of the OGs. What are the role enzymes play? I don't typically use like enzyme cleaners and stuff like that. I think that enzymes can help break up things like biofilms in like drip lines, and they could be, beneficial to like help disinfect. But I would never use like an enzyme in my media, because those enzymes are going to deteriorate, the chitin from that the fungal cells are made out of, and it's like, it's enzymes are for like cleaning. Microbes produce their own enzymes in small quantities to do things like solubilize appetite material, to liberate, plant available nutrients from, rock minerals and stuff like that. But like in large quantities, like those enzyme cleaners, man, like I don't use those in like my systems and stuff like that. It's like maybe for cleaners and stuff like that. But do I use coconut water? I personally don't use coconut water, but I did do a podcast on coconut water. I highly recommend it if you have access to it, and it's really inexpensive. And there's a lot of places, like in Hawaii, for instance, where coconuts, you can just find them on the beach. I did a whole thing on it. If you want to watch that podcast, I don't personally foliar spray the calcium silica because it's not soluble like a salt. I just use it as a top dresser. I water it in. but you can use it if you want to, if you're getting good results. I know a bunch of people that have done it. I just don't personally. Here's another question. Peace of mind farming thoughts on midwinter crop covering for outdoor short-term benefits, killing it off in living soil system and trap. Well, I mean, so like here in where we're at right now, it's been kind of a warm, dry winter. So things like my garlic, which I planted at the end of fall for next season, they actually ended up sprouting and coming up. Crop covers are good. You can get those nutrients back in there. You heading out?
Yeah, I gotta take off.
Okay. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, it's fine midwinter. You can crop cover whenever you want, really. Man, I'm so far behind. Anyway, I've been on here for an hour. I'm going to get going. I'll see you guys next time. Tune in tomorrow at 5:30. We have a special pre-recorded video on calcium, all about calcium. You guys won't want to miss that. And then next week, we're going to have Matthew Gates, and we'll be doing an episode on integrated pest management. I'll talk to you guys soon.